Okay, this is your Chapter 2 quick lecture about social work values and ethics. This is a rather short chapter, but it is certainly very important. One of the things that we as social workers will often encounter are ethical dilemmas. Ethical dilemma is just a situation where you have no single choice that is going to be right for everyone and will please all the people involved. Because many times we have different relationships with different groups. If you work as a teacher, then you are working for your students, but you're also working for your principals, for your superintendents, for your taxpayers. Okay, so many times you cannot please everyone. Okay, when this involves an ethical problem, that becomes what we would refer to as an ethical dilemma. Okay, I can give you an example. I had a student that by school regulations I should have removed from the class for excessive absences. She came to me and told me that she missed all these days because she had an ongoing medical condition. But she had not told me this ahead of time, and plainly states in the syllabus that if you were going to miss, you needed to get in touch with me ahead of time, or at least within a day or two. She had not done this, as had a couple of other students that had already dropped from the class. Now, she explains to me that she is going to lose her parental health insurance if I drop her from the class. But I'm also supposed to do what my employer tells me to do, which is to drop her from the class. There's no easy way out of this particular ethical dilemma. Okay? As social workers, one of the things that we do is we address the 6 core values of social work. First is service. This is sort of obvious. This is just providing help, resources, services for other people. Social justice. Social justice involves all people, recognizing that all people should have the same rights, protections, opportunities, obligations, and social benefits that society offers to us, regardless of their place in society, whether they are wealthy or poor, whether they are a natural-born citizen or a sovereign citizen or an immigrant. Illegal, legal, doesn't matter. In this sense, it doesn't matter. They all are a person, and they are deserving of rights and respect and protection and things like that. Recognize the dignity and worth of each person. Okay, hold that each person has value in our society, however they contribute, whether you think that is valuable or not, does not impact that person in our society is valuable. Valuing the importance and reciprocal nature of relationships. I'll come back to this one in just a moment, because the reciprocal nature is the sort of key word in that value. Integrity, just being trustworthy, having morals and ideals, and your word means something to you. And the last one is competence, having the necessary skills to work effectively in the job that you were employed in. And, this is maybe the harder point to this, being willing to understand that you are not an expert in all areas, and being willing to refer out people whenever they come to you with a problem that is not within your licensure or your skill set to assist them with. A lot of people have a lot of problems with that, but it's very important. And it is a necessary part of social work. And it is a core ethical value that you have to uphold. This is just a quick slide of our code of ethics. You'll see that it's broken down into 6 different parts. Ethical responsibilities to clients, colleagues, in our practice settings, as professionals, to the profession itself, and to broader society. I'll hit on a couple of these. To clients, probably the single most important ethical responsibility to clients is to recognize self-determination. Client has a right to decide what they want to do. It often will not be what you think they should do. It may not even be what any wise person says they should do. However, they have a right to do that. As long as they're not hurting themselves or somebody else directly, they have a right to do that. You don't have a right to tell them not to. Okay, recognizing that the client has the right of self-determination. Okay, Sometimes it gets a little bit difficult if a client has an intellectual impairment, and you think, I know better than they do. Well, you certainly may know better than they do, but that doesn't take away their right to decide for themselves. Okay? Respecting people's privacy and confidentiality. You work as a professional, their information is confidential. You do not have the right to talk about it with other people, to talk about it with your friends, to take pictures of it if it's outside of your job requirements. I've had an incident happen with a student who was working in her practicum. She was upset because a family was not at the appointment at their home whenever they were supposed to be. She took a picture of herself standing in front of the house and posted it on social media saying how upset she was that these people didn't respect her enough to be there. I understand that that she felt disrespected. However, just at looking at that picture, it took me less than 60 seconds to figure out exactly what house she was at. You cannot be violating clients' confidentiality and their privacy and things like that. It's not professional. It violates the ethics of the profession. Okay? Conflict of interest and dual relationships. This is really hard in a small town. It's a little bit easier in a larger urban area, but a dual relationship would be like if I went to church with someone, so I knew them and they were my equal at church, but if I was working for CPS and I got a referral to go to their house and investigate them. Well, now I have a relationship with them at my church, but I also have a very different relationship with them at my job. Those can lead us directly into conflict of interest, and those dual relationships, if we can at all, avoid them. Okay, if that was happened in a big city, I would probably just give that case. I would trade that case to a different caseworker so that they didn't know this person outright. It would be the quickest and easiest way to solve that particular problem. The last one of these big important points about ethical responsibilities to clients is sexual relationships. The book will state that you should not start a sexual relationship or continue a sexual relationship with a client. I would say maybe not ever. Okay, this gets back to that dual nature of reciprocal relationships. If you are a social worker and somebody is your client, legally you have a power advantage over them. Intellectually, or not intellectually probably, but in many ways you're going to have a power advantage over them. Socially, certainly you will. If you engage in a romantic or sexual relationship with them, that is not reciprocal. You are always going to have more power than them, and that is not a healthy relationship, and it's not one that you should seek out. Okay? There are lots of people in the world. If you are encountering somebody in your work as a client, I would say, if at all possible, never establish any sort of romantic or sexual relationship with them at all. Next of the major groups is a social worker's ethical responsibility to our colleagues, to our coworkers, to be respectful and not be bad-mouthing them behind their back, to refer to them, even if you don't like them. I've worked with people that I didn't necessarily like their company, but I thought they were good at their job, so whenever it came time that what their specialty was not my specialty, and I had a client that needed that specialty, I owed it to them as a colleague to refer that person to them. Also, to be respectful in interdisciplinary collaboration. Many times you'll see social workers working with physicians. You'll see social workers working with law enforcement. You'll see social workers working with all of these other professions, and it is important that we are respectful of them and that we expect them to be respectful of us as well for our knowledge and expertise. The other four categories were ethical responsibilities in practice settings as professionals to the profession, and then ethical responsibilities to society. All of these were a little bit more straightforward. I do want to speak briefly about ethical responsibilities to the profession. When you graduate and you get licensed, you are a bachelor's level social worker. You are expected to have a certain level of knowledge and professionalism when you start that. People will expect certain things from you. It is your responsibility to toe that line and to maintain these ethics, because you're getting the benefit of the doubt of all the people that went before you and did that. Okay, and you haven't earned that yet, but you're still getting that benefit. Okay, so you owe it to all the other people in the profession to do that. Okay, and whenever one person does something very poorly or makes a mistake or something like that, it reflects badly on all social workers. You see this whenever just for an example, if you're watching the news and a high school teacher gets in trouble for having a relationship with a student, an improper relationship with a student, it doesn't reflect badly just on that one teacher, unfortunately. It reflects badly on all high school teachers. So that is your responsibility to maintain that. I went over this really quickly, but I do want to make sure that you know when you're encountering an ethical responsibility or an ethical dilemma, the first thing you should consult is the code of ethics. It's meant to be used as a guide to help you make proper, well-researched decisions. Okay? It's something that's meant to be used as a roadmap to getting to where you need to be and looking out for yourself as well as your profession, your employer, and your client as well.